I never thought I'd be the guy posting something like this, but here I am. My name's Kevin, and I'm just trying to make sense of the absolute mess my life has become. It all started a few weeks ago, right around the time I was planning to propose to Emily. We'd been together for about 3 years, and for most of that time I thought we were solid. She was everything I wanted: funny, beautiful, ambitious, a little bitchy sometimes, but in a way that I found charming. I'd even started talking about a future, about us building something real. The signs that something was off didn't hit me immediately. At first, it was small things: forgot to answer texts, late nights with work, her phone constantly going off with new notifications. I'd ask her about it, and she'd roll her eyes, say I was overthinking, or accuse me of being jealous or insecure. Honestly, that should have been a warning sign, but I was blinded by how much I loved her, and I wanted everything to be perfect. Then came the night I was going to propose. I'd planned everything: dinner at that fancy restaurant she loved, a walk through park afterward, her favorite song playing in the background. I was nervous but excited, ready to take this step. I even bought the ring weeks earlier, hiding it in my drawer so I wouldn't slip up. Everything seemed perfect until I came home early that night. I told her I'd be at work late, but I decided to surprise her with a quick visit just to see her before the big moment. That's when I saw her. She was in the living room, her hair a mess, her makeup smudged, and her clothes half off. And she was with another guy, not just some guy, but Mark, my best friend. They weren't just kissing, they were fucking. I saw it all through the crack in the door, her moaning, the way he was holding her tight. My stomach dropped out of my body. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. I froze there, staring, trying to process what I was seeing. My mind went blank. She saw me. Her face turned red, then angry, like I was the one invading her privacy. She yelled at me, calling me crazy and saying I was stupid for spying. She told me it was nothing, just some stupid mistake, that Mark had been there for a while, but it didn't mean anything. She swore they hadn't had sex, just some stupid fooling around. I couldn't believe her. I couldn't believe she'd lie to my face like that, especially when I'd just spent months planning a future with her. I left that night without saying much, just a blur of rage, confusion, and heartbreak. I thought maybe I was overreacting, maybe it was a one-time thing. But deep down, I knew this wasn't just about one mistake. It was about trust, about her lying for months. And the worst part, a few days later she told me she was pregnant, with Mark's kid. And she's been lying about it all this time, pretending everything was fine, pretending she was faithful, pretending she loved me. That's when I knew this wasn't just heartbreak, it was betrayal on a level I never expected. I've been drowning in a mix of anger, sadness, confusion, and a kind of numbness I can't shake. I loved her. I still love her, but I can't ignore what she's done. I keep asking myself, was I ever really enough? Did I mean anything to her, or was I just a placeholder until she found her real thing? And now I'm left here trying to piece everything together, wondering if I should fight for her, leave her, or burn everything to the ground. Honestly, I don't have answers. All I know is I've never felt this betrayed in my life, and I don't know how to move forward from here. After I saw her with Mark, everything changed. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind kept replaying what I saw, her moaning, the way she clung to him like he was her salvation, her secret. It was like I'd been punched again and again, each punch making it harder to breathe. I didn't want to believe it, but there it was, staring me right in the face. My best friend, my wife, fucking behind my back. The betrayal was so raw, so brutal, I felt like I was losing my mind. I stayed up all night, trying to talk myself into some kind of rational explanation. Maybe she was drunk, maybe it was just sex, no strings attached. But deep down, I knew better. When the heart's been broken, no excuse can patch it up. I was furious at her, at Mark, at myself for ever trusting them. I kept asking myself, how could she do this? How could she lie for months about something so big? I thought about all the moments I'd shared with her, all the times I'd told her I loved her, and I felt sick. The next day, I decided I had to confront her. No more pretending. I couldn't live in this fog of lies. So I waited until she came home from whatever bullshit work meeting she claimed she'd been at. When she walked in the door, I didn't even bother with the small talk. I just looked her straight in the eyes and told her I saw her with Mark. Her face twisted into a sneer, like she was annoyed I was ruining her day. She kept insisting I was crazy, that I was paranoid, that she'd never cheat on me. I pushed her. I asked her how she could lie so easily, how she could fuck around behind my back and then turn around and play innocent. That's when she got bitchy, like she was annoyed I was even questioning her. She spat out that I was just jealous, that she needed some excitement, some fun, and I was too boring. She said she loved me, but she wasn't going to pretend she was perfect, especially when I was so paranoid all the time. She called me insecure, said I was overreacting, and that I was lucky she even stayed with me. I looked her dead in the eye and told her I knew about the pregnancy. That's when she lost her shit. She started crying, saying I was making everything up, that Mark wasn't even the father, that she'd been mistakenly pregnant with someone else's kid and was planning to tell me the truth eventually. She kept claiming she loved me, but that she was bored, that I was too controlling, too suffocating. I could see the anger behind her tears, like she was frustrated that I'd found out, like she didn't care how much she hurt me. I was a mess. My head was spinning. I couldn't believe she'd lied to me for so long, that she'd been screwing around with my best friend, and now she's pregnant with his kid. That's a lot for one man to process. I felt a strange mix of rage and heartbreak, like I was sitting in a burning room and couldn't get out. I wanted to yell, to scream, to hurt her back somehow, but I just stood there numb. After that confrontation, everything felt different. I started questioning everything about us, what was real, what was fake. I couldn't look at her without feeling disgusted and betrayed. I didn't sleep for days. I kept replaying everything, trying to find some logical explanation, but all I saw was her sneering face, the way she dismissed my feelings, the way she lied so effortlessly. I realized I was drowning in her betrayal, and I didn't know if I could ever come back from it. The days that followed were a blur of confusion and anger. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus on anything else. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her with Mark, her hands on him, her face lit up in that false smile she always puts on when she's lying. It felt like my brain was trying to process a trauma worse than anything I'd ever experienced. The trust I'd had in her, in my best friend, shattered into a million pieces. I kept asking myself how I missed all the signs, how I could have been so blind. She kept talking, of course. Every time I confronted her, she spun a new story, a new lie. She told me she was confused, that she didn't mean for it to happen, that Mark was just some stupid mistake. She insisted she'd never loved him, that it was just sex, no big deal. But I didn't buy any of it. How could it be just sex when she's pregnant? How could she lie about that for months? It didn't add up. Nothing added up. Her attitude, God, her attitude. She was bitchy, dismissive, annoyed that I was even bothering her with my questions. Every accusation I made just seemed to fuel her irritation. She'd tell me I was overthinking, that I was insecure, that I was suffocating her. She'd roll her eyes and dismiss my feelings outright, like I was some insecure loser blowing everything out of proportion. She acted like she was the victim, like I was the one ruining everything because I just couldn't handle the truth. I remember this one afternoon when I finally snapped. I told her I couldn't keep pretending, that her lies didn't cut deep. I told her I knew about the pregnancy, about Mark, about everything. Her face got that nasty sneer again, and she scoffed. She said I was just jealous, that I was being paranoid, that she'd never cheat on me. She said Mark was just a stupid fling, a mistake, and she was going to get rid of the kid if I wanted her to. That's when I realized she was just spinning more lies, trying to keep her story straight in front of me. It was like she thought she could just brush everything under the rug, act as if nothing had happened, but I saw through her. I saw how she looked at me, like I was an inconvenience, like I was just some guy she used to know. And that's when I finally understood. She wasn't the woman I thought she was. She was cunning, manipulative, and she'd been lying to my face for months, just waiting for the right moment to throw everything in my lap. As much as I wanted to believe her, I couldn't. Not anymore. All the love I had for her, every hope, every dream of us was crumbling right there. I felt like I was drowning in this tidal wave of betrayal, and I didn't see a way out. I started to see her as just another stranger, someone I no longer knew or trusted. The girl I loved was gone, replaced by this bitchy, manipulative person who'd used me and thrown me away like yesterday's trash. In that moment, I knew I had to make a choice. I could try to forgive her, to forget everything and move on, maybe pretend it never happened. Or I could cut her loose, save what little dignity I had left. But deep down, I knew it wasn't about forgiveness. It was about survival. I couldn't stay with her, not after what she did. The pain was too raw and I didn't want to be her punching bag anymore. I needed to do something, anything, to get out of this nightmare. After I made the decision to confront her again, I started planning my next move. I knew I couldn't stay passive, pretending everything was okay when inside I was burning up with rage and disappointment. I wasn't just hurt, I was furious that someone I called my best friend could betray me like that. Mark, for Christ's sake, my own best friend had been screwing my wife behind my back for months, and I couldn't believe I'd ever trusted either of them. That night, I sat in my room staring at the ceiling, trying to come up with a plan. I knew I had to do something concrete, something that would hit her where it hurt, without resorting to violence or cheap revenge. I started gathering evidence, taking screenshots of her texts with Mark, copying messages where she'd been talking about how bored she was, how she needed excitement. It felt like collecting pieces of a puzzle that confirmed what I'd already seen with my own eyes. I wanted her to see that I wasn't stupid or naive. I knew exactly what she was doing. I also made a plan to confront her again, but this time I wasn't going to hold back. I needed her to understand how badly she had fucked up, how deeply she had hurt me. That meant laying everything out on the table, her lies, the pregnancy, the affair. I knew she'd try to spin it again, call me jealous or insecure, but I wasn't going to let her manipulate me anymore. I was done being the nice guy who turned the other cheek. The next day I waited until she was home. I told her I had something to say, something she wasn't going to like. Her eyes narrowed and she gave me that bitchy smirk again, like she was just waiting for me to break down so she could dismiss me. I slammed the folder of evidence onto the table, opened my laptop and showed her the screenshots, the dates, the texts, proof of her lies and her affair. Her face went pale for a second, then turned red with anger. She immediately started denying everything, calling me a stalker, saying I fabricated all of it. She insisted she never cheated, just kissed Mark once, that it was meaningless. She said she was pregnant, but that Mark wasn't the father, that she'd been mistakenly pregnant with someone else's kid, and that she'd only lied to protect her reputation. When I pressed her about the texts, she just shrugged and said I was crazy, that I was trying to ruin her. But I wasn't buying any of her bullshit anymore. I saw her for what she was, an unfaithful, manipulative liar who'd been screwing my best friend and hiding it all this time. Her reaction was classic. She got defensive, then bitchy, snapping at me to back off, calling me paranoid, insecure, a terrible husband. She claimed she loved me but was just bored, needing some excitement, something I'd never given her. Her words felt like daggers. Every time she opened her mouth, I felt a mix of disgust and heartbreak. She was trying to turn it all around on me, make me feel guilty for catching her. But I knew better. I saw her true colors now, the bitchy, selfish girl who lied to everyone, including herself. As she yelled and tried to justify her actions, I sat there quietly, letting her vent. Inside, I was already deciding that I couldn't stay. I couldn't keep pretending she was the same girl I married. My love for her was dead, replaced by this overwhelming feeling of betrayal. I realized that no matter what she said now, nothing could fix what she'd broken. I had to get out for my own sanity. I couldn't keep living in this illusion of a relationship built on lies. That day marked a turning point. I knew I needed to get some space, figure out what I wanted and how I was going to pick up the pieces of my shattered life. I started making arrangements, packing a bag, planning where I'd stay, thinking about how I'd tell my family and friends. I wanted to leave her to deal with the consequences of what she'd done. I didn't want to be a part of her manipulative games anymore. I deserved better than this, and I was finally starting to see that I was worth more than the betrayal she'd handed me. The days that followed felt like walking through a fog. Every moment was a mix of clarity and confusion. I knew I had to get out, but honestly, I didn't know where to start. Part of me just wanted to pack up and leave without looking back, but I also knew I needed to do it the right way. no rash decisions, no regrets. I started researching lawyers, looking into what my options were if I decided to file for divorce. I needed to protect myself, my assets, and most importantly, my sanity. Meanwhile, Emily kept trying to spin her story, acting like the victim, crying about how bored she was and how she still loved me. She swore she'd never cheat again, that she'd made a mistake, that she'd be willing to do anything to fix this, if I'd just give her a chance. Honestly, I just looked at her and felt nothing but contempt. All I saw was her manipulative face, that bitchy sneer, and the way she dismissed everything. I felt like it was nothing. It was all so transparent, her trying to guilt-trip me into staying, like I was the villain for catching her. One night, she told me she was pregnant with Mark's kid. That was the moment I finally lost it, not out of despair but out of pure rage. I looked her dead in the eyes and told her she was a liar, that she'd been lying from the start, and her pregnancy was just another one of her manipulative games. I told her I didn't believe a word she said anymore. How could I? How could I believe anything coming out of her mouth when she'd lied so much already? That night, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the ceiling, feeling exhausted and broken. I realized I'd spent so long trying to see the best in her, trying to believe she was just confused, that she'd never really meant to hurt me. But the truth was, she'd been lying and cheating the entire time. And my best friend, he'd betrayed me just as badly. I thought about all the mornings I woke up feeling happy, thinking I had a future. Now I was just trying to hold myself together, trying not to drown in the betrayal. I finally made the decision that I'd leave. I started packing my things slowly, not because I wanted to, but because I knew I had to. I didn't want to cause a scene, didn't want to ruin her life, but I also knew I couldn't stay. I had to protect what little dignity I had left. As I was packing, she kept begging, crying, telling me I was making a mistake, that she'd change, that she loved me. But I didn't buy any of it. Love doesn't cheat, doesn't lie, doesn't manipulate someone into thinking she's pregnant when she's been screwing another guy. I left her that night without much fanfare. I just took my bag, looked her in the eyes one last time and told her I was done, that I'd find a way to heal from this, even if it took a long time. Walking out of that house, I felt like I was leaving behind a version of myself I no longer recognized. I'd been betrayed so badly I didn't even know how to feel anymore. Anger, sadness, disgust, betrayal, all swirling together. But I knew one thing for sure. I was finally free from her lies. Now I'm staying somewhere else, trying to pick up the pieces. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I can't go back. I learned that some people are just good at hiding who they really are until it's too late. I trusted the wrong woman, and I trusted my best friend, and I paid the price. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I just have to keep moving forward, one step at a time. It's been a few weeks since I left her, and honestly, I still feel like I'm somewhere between numb and angry all the time. Every day is a battle to remind myself that I deserve better than that betrayal. I won't lie, there are moments when I think about her, about Mark, about how everything I thought I knew turned out to be a lie. The trust I once had in people feels like it's been completely shattered, and I'm trying to rebuild from that wreckage. What's been hardest is realizing how much I loved her, how much I really believed she was the one. I kept asking myself if I was blind, if I ignored the signs, or if I just wanted to see the good in her because I was scared to face reality. That's the truth. Sometimes we love people so much we ignore what's right in front of us. We convince ourselves their lies are just misunderstandings or that they'll change. But eventually, the truth comes out, and it hits harder than anything I've ever known. I've learned a lot from this, things I wish I didn't have to learn the hard way. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to repair. I realized I should never compromise my own happiness or peace for someone who's willing to lie and cheat their way through a relationship. Now I focus on myself, on healing, and on rediscovering who I am without her. I've started going to therapy, talking to friends, and trying to rebuild my confidence. And honestly, I don't regret leaving her, not even a little. I know I'll still have flashbacks, moments when I feel like I got punched in the gut all over again, but I'm coming to accept that sometimes walking away is the only way to save yourself. I hope someday I can look back and see this as a chapter that made me stronger, not a story of failure, but one of survival. So to anyone out there going through something similar, I'll say this: trust your gut. Don't ignore the red flags. And most importantly, never let anyone make you feel like you're crazy for seeing what's right in front of you. Love is about honesty and respect, and if those aren't there, then it's better to walk away than to drown in lies and betrayal. Because ultimately, the only person you really have to count on is yourself. And I promise, you're stronger than you think.